What's up, Patreon fam? It is me here to do another celebrity natal chart revisited on DC Young Fly. And so it is with great sadness that I am reporting that his longtime girlfriend, his partner, the mother of his children, her name was Jackie O. Okay, she has unfortunately passed away. She ended up transitioning on Wednesday morning. And although there is limited information in regards to the cause of death, a lot of people are speculating that it was a complication from a mommy makeover procedure that she had just undergone. She was in a aftercare facility in Miami, Florida. And so just first and foremost, I definitely am sending well wishes to her family and just asking God rest her spirit, because that's really sad. And as a mother myself, it's one's worst fear, leaving your children behind. And to be in a circumstance or a situation like that has to be devastating, especially for DC Young Fly, the kids, of course, and all her other loved ones. And that's just real sad. And I wasn't really a fan of their relationship. Not that they needed my approval, but just as a rule of thumb, I just kind of look sideways at these black entertainers and celebrities who go on to get these racially ambiguous girlfriends and baby mamas. But death is just a different situation entirely. I would never wish that on nobody. And I would never, want somebody's family and whatever to experience the after effects of that. That shit is just really fucked up. So, point blank period, rest in peace to her. And I really do hope he adjusts. But the objective of this reading is to take a look at DC Young Fly's natal chart as well as his transits to point to exactly what the cause of this situation was. So let's just go ahead and get started. So DC Young Fly was born May 2nd, 1992 in Atlanta, Georgia, making him a Taurus sun and moon. So he is a heavy Taurus. However, depending on his exact time of birth, his moon could actually be forming in opposition to Pluto. The moon in opposition to Pluto oftentimes brings death to your front door. Okay? This is an aspect that could result in a person coming up close and personal with death. Now, he also has Pluto opposed in his sun as well. Sun in opposition to Pluto could also have a similar effect, but that could also even put a person's life in jeopardy or threaten their own life, in the sense that, maybe these are people who could have near-death experiences themselves, or really a host of other things, because Pluto, as a planet, the archetype of Pluto absolutely does deal with death in all forms, whether it be metaphorical or literal, right? Because death is change, it's transformation, it's the ultimate transition. So the fact that it's opposing both his sun and moon like that is going to put him through situations where he could be experiencing this a lot. And more specifically with the moon in opposition to Pluto, once again, this could hit home on a different level as it pertains to family. And I actually I don't follow him on social media, but I have looked at his social media accounts before and just kind of, kept up with him in passing, I guess you could say, over the years. And he actually experiences, from my vantage point, death a lot. Because every time I look up, it seems like he always talking about somebody dying, whether it be a cousin or somebody he grew up with, which is also very moon in opposition to Pluto, whether it be especially if he was somebody really big in gangs, or maybe just people who he's known a long time, people in his family, specifically a lot of the women in his life. I think he had a female cousin who passed maybe last year or the year before that. And don't get me wrong, death is a part of life that everybody is going to have some sort of close encounter with, whether it be yourself, whether it be, people around you, family, friends, whatever, passing and transitioning, of course. But once again, when Pluto is opposing the moon, it could happen a lot more frequently. And once again, it's going to be a lot more personal, right? Real hard-hitting, heavy-hitting tragedies. And when I first looked at his natal chart, and I ain't really want to say this out loud because I try to be mindful of my words, especially, lately. But at first, I was shocked to find that his mom was still alive, because in some cases, that opposition between Moon and Pluto could kill off the mother prematurely. But now that this situation has taken place with his partner, the mother of his children, which could also be very much symbolized by a man's moon, this absolutely makes that opposition make a lot of sense. That opposition between Moon and Pluto could deal with losing, a woman early, like the mother of your children, or whatever the case may be. I also thought it was interesting that Jackie O was a Scorpio. She was a heavy Scorpio too. She had Sun conjoined to Venus in Scorpio, which right there is an aspect that was responsible for her being so interested in plastic surgery, her getting those plastic or cosmetic procedures, or whatever the case may be. But then also it reaffirms, that Moon Pluto opposition in DC Young Fly's chart. So I thought that was really interesting. But also, Moon in opposition to Pluto could deal with a surgery, but like gone wrong. Okay, because we're talking about an opposition here. So oppositions could be indicative of health complications even. It's also worth mentioning that the moon deals with the breasts, the stomach, which ironically enough are the key areas of the body that are augmented during a mommy makeover, right? They snatch your stomach, snatch that waist, take your breasts, add something to them if you want, or just lift them up or whatever. And so, once again, with DC Young Fly's moon in opposition to Pluto, it could affirm Jackie O undergoing a procedure where she's getting work done to her breasts and to, her stomach area, and whatever the case may be. And a lot of times there could be a certain level of vanity that exists, especially with this Taurus moon here, even with DC Young Fly being a Taurus sun. These are people who can be very superficial. Very superficial. And if I'm not mistaken, because I looked at Jackie O's chart briefly, and I didn't want to really do a natal chart reading on her, just for the sake of time, right? But her moon is also opposing Pluto too. So that reaffirms, the mommy makeover surgery, as well as the complications from the surgery too. It could also even be indicative of infection. That's the other side of the coin too. But it gives this Moon Pluto opposition could even speak to a person not really valuing themselves. And I'm not saying it in order to like pass judgment, but when we look at that Moon in Taurus opposing Pluto, a lot of times this body modification could be the outcome of someone trying to, feel more secure, and who could be willing to go to extreme lengths in order to obtain this sense of security. Moon in Taurus opposing Pluto. Okay. And once again, it's important to understand that this could be a theme that may have been very prevalent in their relationship, or just in who they were as people, because it appears not only in DC Young Fly's chart, but Jackie O's chart as well. She has the same exact aspect. And like I said, I also feel like a lot of it had to do with that theme of like upholding that theme of superficiality that we know comes along with the business, being in the industry, in the spotlight, especially as a Taurus sun man who can be very superficial. Taurus is all about that trophy action, right? These are men who want them a nice little trophy. He also has his Venus in Taurus as well. So I understand the pressure. You could even look at that Moon Pluto opposition as there being pressure to do so. Now, I don't want to misconstrue or conflate or make it seem like he told her to do it or he overtly made her get the surgery or undergo the procedure. That's not what I'm saying at all, right? But what I am saying, that even on a subconscious level, especially when we talk about the moon is the subconscious. So that tension, that pressure may have still been present, even if it hasn't been like overtly and literally articulated, right? Like let's use our common sense. Because I know somebody in the comments going to be like, you see, you blaming him, how could you blame him? Relax, kids. Also, Moon in Taurus opposing Pluto could deal with one having an eroded sense of self. Once again, tying it back to this theme of a person having their self-esteem, their self-worth compromised, and undergoing a lot of surgery like that. Because even when you look at this Moon-Pluto opposition from DC Young Fly's chart, but also even from Jackie O's chart, and also need I remind you guys, she has that Scorpio stellium there. Intuitively, it strikes me that she is not new to surgical procedures, right? And so you also have to look into the psyche of a person who resorts to a lot of these plastic surgery, procedures over and over again, who's willing to go under the knife over and over again. There oftentimes are issues, once again, with self-esteem, that are rooted in that. So I'm just leave that there, and obviously not to blame her or people who get surgery. By all means, do what you got to do, but these are the very real, plausible outcomes of being put under, of having any type of invasive. You could look at Moon in opposition to Pluto as an invasive surgery, an invasive procedure, right? I think that in general, people get so caught up with the outcome and us living in BBL culture that we don't realize that these surgeries come with casualties, and more specifically, BBLs, astronomical levels of fatality associated with that particular procedure. And so it's a lot. It's really sad. But hopping into DC Young Fly's transit, because there's one particular transit that really is the smoking gun, if you will, in terms of setting off or setting these series of events in motion. So DC Young Fly's Venus, that Venus in Taurus, is currently forming an exact opposition to the transit in South Node of Scorpio. And this could, for all intents and purposes, result in a person having something taken from them. And when we consider Venus and Taurus, this could be a spouse, literally, right? And with Scorpio, especially this Scorpio South Node transit being very, very heavily rooted in death as well, right? Bringing a lot of death and themes associated with that along with it. The opposition could be very indicative of losing a partner, losing a spouse. It could also deal with a person losing money too, right? Losing money or having something that's theirs destroyed. He has a lot of energy surrounding that, even natally, right? As a Taurus, somebody with Taurus energy and heavy Pluto opposition, where the things that he has to be willing to part with them. And because a lot of times he loses them in ways that are completely out of his control, initiated by outside events, fate. And this is actually one of those situations for him. This is very karmic, especially with his Venus conjoined to transiting North Node and that opposition to Scorpio South Node. It's like something that was almost, I don't want to say destined, or it's actually just a part of his destiny playing out. Okay. And as a Cancer South Node, Capricorn North Node, in this lifetime, DC Young Fly has to learn how to be alone. And am I implying that, people with Capricorn on the North Node could never have any friends and loved ones and, you know, like you're going to be alone for the rest of your life. Like, not necessarily, but these are people who can form a lot of attachment. And when it comes to like being a family man, he wasn't necessarily supposed to be that. And I guarantee you he was a womanizer. He probably cheated a lot, but that's a different video for a different day, right? I ain't gonna make this one of them type of videos. But point is, these are people who can experience a lot of karmic debt when it comes to like their ability or inability to let go. And with his Saturn in Aquarius squaring Pluto, a lot of times that's going to play itself out through death, or once again, situations that are just beyond one's control, right? So that in tandem with all of those oppositions to Pluto, you know, he's somebody who could have just lived either just a really hard life, or, you know, I really do feel for him with that, where he could just be someone who undergoes a lot of changes, going through a lot. And although you could say that for most people, that's a part of life, for him, like I said, this could be, you know, a really big part of his life, like losing the people and the things that he loves or values, and, you know, experiencing a lot of death in his time. So, you know, once again, hearts, prayers, all that good stuff, whatever it is you believe in, you know, send all that good juju his way. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. Rest in peace to Jackie O once again, and y'all drop down in the comment section, let me know what y'all thought about this whole situation. What do you think about the transits? What do you think about DC Young Fly's natal chart? Can you relate to any of these placements or aspects? Let me know, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And yeah, talk to you later. Bye.